Hello, everyone, and welcome to another passage of reading comprehension question. So, let's look into the text and the direction given here. So, if you look into the direction for question, uh, it, it states that answer the following question based on the information given below. So, the text begins with the idea that the market is a giant lottery in search of the price of security. Gambling for a spot in the lifeboats. There are no more dreams of a good life, and no more futures, millennials, and Gen Zs were raised to be entrepreneurs of the sun. To believe that if they simply worked and studied hard enough, success and security were waiting in the future. Failure was a personal future. Failure was a personal blight for refusing to invest their time wisely, for failing to grind hard enough. Post 2008, that dream was short. That dream was short. You could you could work and hard. You could work and work, but that did not mean that you would have a job security and freedom from roommates by your mid 30s. Maybe this was what was meant by burnout culture. In the aftermath of the crash, middle class people spoke of the death of the dream. The post-war ethos that if you were willing to work hard enough and play by the rules, upper mobility and success were waiting in your future. If their parents had believed in climbing the ladder and just rewards for their hard work, this path was now close to their children. These generations are also a product of the speculative environment they were raised in. Most of the day traders were teenagers or children in the financial class or just graduating college. Born between the mid 1980s and early 2000s, their identity is shaped by the vacuum of post-communist communist politics. I personally was sent age 5 to a fancy dress party styled as the Berlin Wall or shaped by the speculation and excess of the dot-com era, or racked by the uncertainty of the 2008 financial crash. They have encountered the death of American dream, or an island where I am from, the optimism of the Celtic Tiger, and felt the withdrawal of the state's contract in everything from mounting students' debt to inferior healthcare to the rising cost of living, the post-war security and investment in public goods like education and housing their grandparents and parents enjoyed has been replaced by volatility and risk. What replaced the fantasy of a good life? Dreams of prepping for life on Mars or in metaverse, of financial security through wild trades, or finding a good man to take care of you so you could have leave the hustle behind. And who are these new dreams in service of? So, to risking it all, financial markets are no longer a space where investors allocate capital to businesses to grow a profit. It is all about gambling on vibes in the Gulf left by financial and social and political systems in total free fall. Nihilistic vibes, desperate vibes, hopeless vibes. The market is a giant lottery in what search of the price of security, gambling for a spot in the lifeboats. Of course, financial markets have been separated from or divorced from the so-called real economy since the 1970s, right? But maybe in the era of post-truth and political apathy, what is new is an acceleration of these sensations, a total sense that nothing matters anymore. Hard work doesn't matter, good sense doesn't matter, and neither do good bets or doing all the right things matter, isn't it? So, what we understood from the passage that the passage explores the disillusionment and challenges faced by what that's called as the Gen Zs, right? Faced by millennials and Gen Zs, isn't it? So that is what you would find out, explore the disillusionment and challenges faced by millennials and Gen Zs, the contemporary economic landscape. isn't it? So next it is stated that it argues that the promise of success through hard work has been shattered, particularly after the 2008 financial crash, right? So this generation raised to believe in self-entrepreneurship now faces insecurity and burnout. The passage highlights what? The shift the shift from post-war optimism and stability to a speculative volatility environment where traditional paths to success are no longer reliable. Instead, financial markets have become space of gambling rather than investment, reflecting a broader societal sense of nihilism and nihilism, and you can say that what desperation, right? So that's what you would find out. The main idea is nothing but indicating about millennial and Gen Zs raised there with a belief in hard work and entrepreneurial self-sufficiency face a reality of economic instability, right? And burnout. The financial markets reflect this shift, having changed from spaces of investment to arenas of speculative gambling, symbolizing the broader societal disillusionment. Now, if you look into the tone of the passage, it is nothing but a critical, right? Critical, and you can say that the disillusioned, right? It expresses a sense of and frustration, and you can say that skepticism, skepticism, skepticism about the current economic and social landscape, particularly in how it affects younger generation. So, if I move to the next one, that's called as the style of the passage. The style is analytical, analytical, and you can say that descriptive. Descriptive, using vivid metaphors and examples to describe the challenges faced by millennials and Gen Zs. The language is nothing but emotive in nature, right? And reflecting the deep sense of disillusionment, of what? Disillusionment, disillusionment, and instability experienced by the generation, isn't it? Now, let's move to the question to this particular uh, passage. So the question here it's asked, the author of the passage is most likely agree with all except, right? The author of the passage is most likely agree with all except. Now, if you see that, uh, if you see that the question asks about what? The question asks which of the statement the author of the passage is least likely to agree with, or most, because as it is pointed except, it means you would find out that all the three options will be agree, whereas one option will be least likely, isn't it? That is what. Now, option one is stated what? Believe in hard work and invest rationally. So the passage discusses what? The passage discusses the disillusionment with the traditional belief, right? With the traditional belief that the hard work and rational investment will lead to stability and security. It critiques this idea in the context of what? Post 2000, post 2008, right? So, financial reality. Therefore, the author might not fully agree with this statement, right? Might not fully agree with this statement. So, we could say that option one could be the answer. No. So, let's move to the to the next option. What does the next option pointed here? So, second option stated financial market is a desperate gamble for stability. Now, if you see that this statement reflects the pessimistic view, right? What kind of a view? Pessimistic. Pessimistic view represented in the passage about the financial market being seen as a desperate gamble rather than a stable and reliable source of income. The author is likely to agree with this perspective, isn't it? So likely to agree with this perspective. Teenagers should, next one, uh, if you observe that teenagers should think about entrepreneurship rather than investing in market. So the passage does not actually is explicitly encourage or discourage entrepreneurship among teenagers. However, it criticizes the idea that traditional paths of hard work and investment lead to guaranteed stability. So this option suggests an alternative approach, right? That the author may not necessarily agree with, as it implies a specific recommendation for teenagers, right? So in that case, you can say this becomes the except one. Uh, Now moving to the next, the next one is stated: studying with and how working hard. Studying and working hard is the wisest way to remain stable and secure. Now, this option aligns with the traditional belief that the passage suggests that the belief is no longer a guaranteed path to stability and security in the modern facility landscape. So we can say that option 1, 2, and 4 can be known as a what means um, in which the author agree with, or the author of the passage is likely or most likely agree with. So whereas option 3, which is clearly stated what uh, suggests an alternative path, entrepreneurship, that the author does not explicitly discuss or uh, endorse, right? Discuss, or you can say that endorse. So in that case, we can consider uh, uh, the passage focuses more on what? More on critiquing traditional belief about stability and security, rather than means you can say that proposing alternative for teenagers. Therefore, we can consider the correct answer. The statement the author of the passage is least likely to agree with based on the discussion is option 3, which is appointed. Teenagers should think about entrepreneurship rather than investing in it. Okay. Hope you understood this. That's all. Thank you.